murderer?
Absolutely.
Should a thief go to jail when he steals?
Absolutely.
Should a robber pay back the money he robbed?
Absolutely.
So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did?
That's right. That's right.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacles set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never our home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe this slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. Main fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angels, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cages, safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom, we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a
Look, ain't no remorse in my blood slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in his body, you fit a Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in his dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is dish served cold, I just hope they making oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in a world of mad shooters. Devils design fire for our babies to pass through it. And the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
Someday you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a
All right. Shalom, Israel. You live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer Wool holding down the class live from Memphis, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have classes here in Memphis from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Since 1969, the Israelite School of UPK has been teaching so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. Salaki, what is the truth? The truth is that so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2026, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on this earth. Bear with me. So what we like to do with these classes is give brothers and sisters an opportunity to go into this book called the Bible, to gain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High is placed inside of this book so that we can come back to being the people that he called us to be, reclaim our righteous place on the earth as kings, priests, princesses, and daughters of Zion. So what we like to do with these, what we like to do is start the class off with questions. If any brothers and sisters in the class have questions, just raise your hand. If there's any questions online, all you gotta do is type them in. And if there are no questions, we'll get into the topic of tonight's class. What you see on the screen is highly esteemed among men. I want to take a moment to recognize Precinct Officer Carl Sapar out of Virginia that's down here in Memphis. We're gonna get a brother a hand. Brother always tuning in, you know what I'm saying, on the road a lot. But this opportunity came to him for him to be here in Memphis tonight. So the brother came through, man. He gonna rock the class out with me. And I always appreciate having brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, that's down in this zone, man. A lot of you brothers and sisters might not know, I started out in the ISUPK up in Washington, D.C. back in 2010. And I was in the D.C. school for a number of years, and my situation changed, and I had a residence in Philadelphia. So I transferred to the Philadelphia school about 2012, 2013, and I was down there grinding and building up the Philadelphia school with the Akim, and going up and down the road to New York City with the generals for class and camp, all the way up until 2019 when I put in a request to transfer down here to Memphis to build a school up. And I had seen brothers, mighty men in the work of the Lord, build their zones up from just being them in a room like I'm sitting in now to having schools full of brothers. And I'm talking about Captain Gadar Har, 13,000 in California. I'm talking about Captain Mao Quad up there in Chicago. I'm talking about Officer Kapash in Indianapolis. Speaking about Captain Hazania in Syracuse, New York. There was a brother that was in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watched these brothers on the road, away from the school, away from headquarters, away from the general strive and toil, putting in classes and teaching online and reeling brothers in until they built their schools up. They bring in 30, 40 people to Passover. And I remember 2018 at the Passover, looking around and seeing all of these brothers that had come in and saying how, to myself, how amazing it was that the Lord used these men in these cities to bring all these brothers and sisters into the truth. And I had a zeal to want to be able to do the same thing. I felt like I had been, I was in a luxury being in Philadelphia, being around the generals and all the captains and the officers. And, we had everything set in place there. And I felt like I needed to go somewhere where I could be better utilized, you know what I'm saying? And so I went and got some counsel. I put in a request to be able to go to a city where we weren't operational and to build something up. And I moved to Memphis in 2019. And when I came to Memphis, man, I had a 5-year plan in my mind. 5 years, I was going to build this thing up and have an army of brothers, and I'd be able to, move on to the next thing. And shortly after I moved up here, man, COVID hit, and I, had to sit down for a year and went through a lot of things being, in the truth, in a zone where there is no school, attempting to build it up. And so I say all that to say there's times where it can be difficult being really, short-staffed. It's me, one other officer down here. I got some beautiful, amazing, strong sisters down here. But it's, it can get rough not being around brothers sometimes. And so anytime brother get an opportunity to come through here, man, I really appreciate it. So I definitely wanted to shout out Officer Carl Sapar and just thank the brother for coming through to hold down class with me. All right, Most High Christ. So any questions online, type them in. Any questions in the room, raise your hand. Carl, I believe you said you had a question. I don't know if you want to go into it now. Nat, come on with it.
Yeah, so this was just trying to brief break down that read on that book, Nature Knows No Color Line, and had ties there with that during that time of the Middle Ages and the sub-Saharan slave trade and things of that nature.
So what? Now, Nature Knows No Color Lines is one of those UPK approved books, right? But even in the books where we have our understanding and our knowledge of the truth, hey, shalom, Captain Zion, what's going on with you, priest? Good to see you. Even with our knowledge and understanding of the truth, a lot of the times when we go to read these outside sources, they're not going to just blatantly tell you the truth. Meaning it's not going to say, yeah, Black Americans was these people in 1400, 1300. So as you're reading that book, Nature Knows No Color Lines, right? You have to fish through the white man trying to not acknowledge that these people were Black, right? So if you go back and you read Nature Knows No Color Lines, there's certain families that they discuss, and they'll tie those families back to the sons of Jacob, the children of Israel, right? They'll use terms Anglo-Saxon. They'll use family names like, man, it's been a while since I've read that book, but there'll be certain family names that they'll say ties back to this place and this time. There'll be names of certain rulers, like I know King Henry IV, I believe. They called him Black Boy. Well, why is there a King Henry in France called Black Boy? You see pictures of him drawn, even the Renaissance pictures of him. He got a big nigga nose. King Henry got a big nigga nose. He got curly, nappy hair. And you like, well, damn, where this cat come from? You go look at his bloodline. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe some of the names of those bloodlines are the Habsburgs. The Tudors is, I believe, the Tudors is the name of the modern British royal family. But going back to King James, they were not the Tudors. They were called something else. But those bloodlines tie back to Black people who came into Europe from the Middle East and brought culture and civilization and rulership and all of those things. Another term they're going to use a lot is the term Moor. The term Moor means Black. Moor was used to distinguish someone who was melanated from someone who was not. What you got to be careful with, though, is that Moor doesn't mean Israelite. Moor just means Black. So you had African Moors, you had Hebrew Moors, you had Hebrew Moors who spoke Arabic. So they call them Muslim. It's a lot that you got to fish through to find Israelites, but all through those books is the evidence that we were there. You understand what I'm saying? But it's never going to be like, yeah, these are Black, the forefathers of Black Americans. Like even now, you go and read about King James. You're not going to find history that says King James was a Black man. But you trace King James' lineage, his family lineage, you'll find out that these were Black people. King James, that the family name that King James, he was the 6th King James of Scotland. He was the 1st King James of England. His family bloodline in Scotland were Black. And they ruled in Scotland for a long time before James became king. Nature Knows No Color Lines gives you the details of those family relationships. You understand? Also, what Nature Knows No Color Lines I don't know if it alludes to this, but there's a lot of history that you can find as well, where after the so-called Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition is famous in history, right? The Spanish Inquisition was a time when white Europeans rose back to power in Europe, and they began to expel Black and Arab royalty out of their positions of power. Or if they weren't Black royalty, they were what they call them, like in the king's court. So these would be aristocrats. These would be oligarchs. These are big business people that's rich and got money. During the days of the Spanish Inquisition, the white man killed a lot of those people in Europe, but rather than acknowledge that they killed them, they just had white people assume their identities. So during the Spanish Inquisition is what chased all of the Black people out of Spain, out of Portugal, out of France, out of Germany, which made North Africa full of Hebrews that the white man was able to come and enslave and send over here. It's about 100-year period from the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade with Christopher Columbus in 1492. There's about 100-year period of all Black people being expelled from Europe, rounded up, having their lands, their titles taken, having all of their business contracts taken from them. And instead of those people just disappearing or their identities no longer existing, their names got assumed by white people. White people took over their identity and then started doing business in their names, which is why when you go back into the history in Europe, you'll find a lot of slave traders. They'll say, oh, these are Black. We say Black people ruled during the Dark Ages. White people will say, well, if you're saying Black people ruled during the Dark Ages, then that means Black people were the ones behind slavery. They'll leave out the part where during the Spanish Inquisition, a lot of these Black people were killed and had their titles and their wealth stripped from them. and given to white people, and white people assume their identities. So it's a lot of that history that's in that Middle Ages, that Dark Ages period that the white man gonna try to hide. You just got to be able to sift through it. But anything like you read Nature Knows No Color Lines, anything that you not sure of or you not clear on the connection, all you gotta do is just call. Call me, call Captain Katazar is excellent with it. Call it's another brother that real good with the history. I would say call myself a Captain Katazar. Then break it down for you. But Nature Knows No Color Lines is a real good book, man. I got some books I've been reading lately. I got a book called Who is Edom? Who is Edom is a good book. The 13th Tribe by Arthur Kessler is a good book. Chosen People of the Caucasus by William Bradley. Was it Bradley? Bradley something. Chosen People of the Caucasus. All of those are books that go into the history of white people being Esau and also white people not ever being the Jews or civilized people. You understand? You can get all that history broken down that way, all right? But yeah, any of those books, you're going to have to be diligent in reading through it in order to understand where the truth is and where the lies are. That book, what's that book that says the Jews fled into Egypt, written by that black man? Babylon and Timbuktu. That's enough. Rudolph Windsor. Rudolph Windsor is an excellent author, did a lot of history studying, but he's not in the truth. So you got to read his books and sift through what's true and what's bullshit, because now I've done some studying. Pretty soon I'm telling y'all the next year or two, I'm gonna start doing lectures. I mean, I'm gonna do a lecture like once every other month. There's gonna be 6 lectures a year from Captain Soccer War. And I'm working, I got the information for a lecture showing how all black leaders that have risen to prominence, or black professors, right, have been allowed to have success or be accepted by white scholars because they push certain narratives, right? Rudolph Windsor is a cat that pushes a narrative that we come from Africa. So he pushes that back to Africa. We is children of Israel, but we from Africa. That's why they allow a lot of his stuff to pass, because he blends the line between Hebrews and Africans. He doesn't flat out say black Americans are not the same people as Africans. And so because he pushes that, the white man, he write them books. When you read those books, if you just took everything Rudolph Windsor said at face value, then we the Igbos, we the Benin tribe, the Igbo tribe in Benin and in these different countries, he'll say we those people when in reality we not. So anything that's not ISUPK and Commander General Yohana, you gotta sift through it in order to know what's the truth and what's still brainwashing, what's still the lies and indoctrination. And I say that because when I was young in the truth, I went back and I started reading W.E.B. Du Bois, right? W.E.B. Du Bois was a writer. He was like a scholar in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And he wrote a book called The Sociological Souls of Black Folks. And it was an excellent book written about the culture and the society that black people had amongst ourselves in the days after the abolishment of slavery, right? And W.E.B. Du Bois was very honest about these people who just been freed from slavery. They don't have no civilization. They don't have no morals. There's no honor among them. He talked about the plantation structure. You go read W.B. Du Bois, and he wrote this book in like 1905. He's describing the projects in 2000. He's describing the Christian church in 2026. Like, he's describing a place where black people are there, but there's no morality. There's no sense of right and wrong. There's no reason to do right or to have rules or to follow laws. It's like these are people who are badly in need of structure. And he explains that the reason why they are this way is because slavery made them like animals. They look at themselves like they're animals. They don't look at themselves. They don't take themselves seriously. They don't have any sense of shame or sense of why would you, do that or live like that. And it's like you read it and you're like, damn, I thought the way that I grew up was a product of crack. I thought the way that the things was in the hood was because of, what happened, no fathers in the home. I thought women being whores and men sleeping, jumping from women to women was something that happened because our families were destroyed in the 60s. Nah, man, that shit come back from slavery. They was doing that in slavery. They was living like that. Women being whores, like having babies and not knowing who the daddy was. That was going on in 1905 when W.B. Du Bois wrote about it. So I say that to say, I remember reading it and thinking to myself, why the fuck weren't we taught this growing up? Why I gotta wait till I'm 25, 30 years old to read about black people's condition in the 1900s and to understand that somebody already recognized this problem and wrote about it and gave a solution? I didn't understand it until I went and read Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was a contemporary of W.B. Du Bois, meaning they lived at the same time. They debated each other around the same time. Booker T. Washington also wrote about black people and about now he didn't necessarily write about black people in the condition we went after slavery, but he offered a solution of how we can rise to the next level, how we could pull ourselves out of the slavery and out of the mentality that we were in coming out of slavery and how we could better ourselves. W.B. Du Bois stated that we needed to be independent. We needed to have our own land and have our own place where we could build ourselves up, and we needed to be separate from the white man. Booker T. Washington taught, no, we need to assimilate and be what white people are trying. We need to be like white people. We need to learn from them and accept their culture and accept their morality and be more like good Americans so we can be accepted. Now, if you got one nigga saying we need to be like white people and another one saying, nah, we need to separate, we need to push for independence and push for our own, what have you done? What have you just created? If I'm the white man and I got these two black men that have these two ideas of how black people should be able to rise up and get free, why would I let both of them exist? Why would I empower both of them to write books and to become famous and to be well known? How does these two men benefit me if I'm white people?
I guess they don't.
You said what?
I guess they don't, dude.
Okay, if they didn't benefit white people, why would white people let them be famous? Why would white people let their books be published at Amazon and let everybody know their names? There's something that W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington represented that made it good for white people that these two niggas exist. I'm asking you, what did they, how did they serve white people?
Well, I believe it's sort of like, with Martin Luther King, they was, kind of like, assimilating black people to, white people to be more at peace with them, or, and accept white people to be a good nigga, so to speak.
Okay. So I see why you would say they would let Martin Luther King get famous and exist, right? Let me ask you this: why would they let Malcolm X get famous? You ever go back and look at the TV? There's interviews on national TV with Malcolm X, huh? There's reporters that sat down on NBC News when there was 4 channels that existed on the planet. The white man let a Muslim get on TV and say white people are the devil, black people should separate, we should push for our own this and that. They let Martin Luther King get famous, but they also let Malcolm X get famous. Why would white people put Malcolm X on TV?
Only thing I think about, sir, is that, what he was saying, they want the truth.
Why would white people want black people to have the truth? Why would white people let a nigga tell them the truth get out there?
Because I don't believe, he won't tell them the truth. He was a Muslim.
Okay, he's not telling the truth. He's a Muslim. So why did white people let him be famous? Why would they let Martin Luther King and Malcolm X be famous at the same time? Why would they let Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois be famous at the same time?
It could create confusion amongst the black people as well.
That division, the white man knows that a house divided cannot stand. And the white man has always known, if I allow for there to be a black famous person that's telling black people this is the way we can go, and there's another famous black person saying this is the way we should go, then black people will remain divided. And if I can keep them divided, they'll never be able to fight me. That's why the white man lets whoever gets propped up and famous become propped up and famous. Now, here's what I'm gonna do a lecture, and in my lecture, I'm gonna show you that Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois were both funded and supported by white people, and those white people were together. So these white people that's funding Booker T. Washington are united with the white people funding W.B. Du Bois. Why are these crackers why are these white people that's united funding these two black men that's saying different things? Because these white people know these two men are going to keep these people separated. And as long as they arguing and fighting about what they believe in, those people will never unite. You understand? And it's been like that since the late 1800s. After the abolition of slavery, it's always been white people have allowed black people to have one or two ideas of leadership. And you got to choose between them two. But as long as you divide it, you'll never come together. We just talked about W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. In the 60s, it was Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You understand? Then there was a time it was Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. You understand? And you got whoever the preachers are today. You got the pastor in Baltimore, Jamal Bryant. Then you got the pastor of this 2920 church. You understand? It's always been hell. You look into politics right now. You got blacks on the conservative side. You got the I can't think of these sellouts names. There's all types of sellouts on both sides. There's the something twins. These light-skinned, high yellow, hazel-eyed niggas. The Hodgkins twins. It's the Hodgkins twins. There's another nigga, Officer Tatum. They on the conservative side. And I mean, these niggas are the worst boot-lickingest, white people lovingest niggas you ever seen in your life. And white people hate them. But they serve a purpose because they keep those black conservatives supporting everything Donald Trump says and does. Then on the black side, you got, what I hate is that there's the bootlickers on the conservative side, and then everybody on the Democratic side is a homosexual. Don Lemon, name me some who else is famous in the black politics. All of those cats are absolute, sexual deviants and victims of molestation, but they support the Democratic side. The white man has always had it to be that way because keeping the people divided is how you rule them and is how you stay on top of them. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna do a lecture on all the black leadership since the civil rights movement has been funded and dominated by white people. None of these niggas had their own. They never had their own thoughts, their own plans, which is why the biggest threat to the white man today is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commander General Yohana, because we stand with the truth. And standing with the truth is what unites people. Standing with the truth is what brings everybody together to where you can't disagree, you can't argue. And the worst thing that could happen in America today is for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to unite under the truth. You understand? It's what brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. It's what had Israel rise against the Greeks during the Maccabean revolt. You understand? It's what led Nat Turner's rebellion. The truth is the only thing that can unite a people. And it's standing in the truth and righteousness is the only thing that can get you free from oppression. And that is the biggest threat today. But all of these different organizations and these different groups that come out of nowhere and that got money and got resources that's funded by the white man, they could never do nothing besides be second to the white man. And that's why they supported and pushed. Everybody understands. All right, so with that, you got another question?
Nah, sir. Wow.
Nah, ain't about no sweat. So keeping with that theme, right? The Bible warned us long ago that the Most High is not impressed by the things that man are impressed by. The things that move people is not the spirit of what moves the Most High. Yeah, everybody understands. And so when you look at people like W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, oh, they have such great names, and they gave speeches and wrote papers and said such great things. But what is the thing that counts when it comes to the Lord? What is it that the Most High that matters to him? Is it the speeches? Is it the writings? Is it the debates? Or is it something else? Let's go ahead and get to it, all right? Let's get Luke chapter 16, verse 15.
Luke 16, 15.
Come.
Got the book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse 15. And he said unto them, ye are they which justify yourselves before men.
Keep reading.
But God knoweth your hearts.
You understand? Christ said, you are they. Go back one more time. Let's get Luke chapter 16, verse 14.
Come.
This is important. Now understand this. This is going to be Christ speaking, right? But verse 14 sets the stage so you can understand the context in which Christ spoke these words. Christ is in the midst of battling with the Pharisees and Sadducees, right? Now, there's two types of people in this world. There's someone who is capable of acknowledging when someone else is better than them. And then there's a person that hates the idea that someone who's better than them gets more shine or gets more recognition. Everybody understands? It's two types of people. Either you can respect, man, that brother, man, is Lord with him. He deserved to be on the spotlight. He deserved to be recognized for the wisdom and the knowledge. And then there's somebody that say, nigga think he know everything. Why they listening to him? Why they pass him the mic? You understand? The Pharisees and Sadducees were absolutely the types of niggas. They the second type. They like, well, who the fuck is this nigga? Why he got all the answers? Why everybody listening to him? And the same thing applies today. In this world, in this society, there are people that hear the truth and they say, damn, that was heavy, man. That brother dropping it. And then there are people that say, man, who the fuck is this nigga? Why we gotta listen to him? Why he gotta be right about everything? Why his way gotta be the only way? Now let's go ahead and read it.
Luke chapter 16, verse 14. And the Pharisees also, who were covetous.
They were what?
Covetous.
They were what?
Covetous.
The Pharisees were covetous. Covetous of what? Let's read on.
Heard all these things, and they derided him.
They heard everything he said, and they derided him. What does it mean to deride someone? Do you know what does derided mean?
I would say, sir, the hate.
Okay, give me more than that. Yeah, give me some more than that. Because if it was hate, they would have just said hated him.
I definitely probably would have to look up the definition, but me just using, context clues, I know they definitely got an issue with them.
Well, this is why we have to look up the word, right? So here's derided in the Webster's dictionary. It says to laugh at or insult contemptuously. You understand? If you laugh at something contemptuously, what does that mean? I'm gonna give you the second definition. It says, hold on, gotta add. Hold on. Oh, come on. Hold on. Derided is to laugh at or insult contemptuously. The second definition is to subject to usually bitter or contemptuous ridicule or criticism. Everybody understands. In essence, they were heckling him. He's teaching. They in the crowd, man. What this nigga? They don't know what he talking about, man. Fuck this nigga, man. Why y'all listening to him? Or look at this. What he just said was dumb as hell, man. Anybody listening to that stupid is stupid. They were mocking him. They were trolling him. You ever go to a comedy show and somebody in the crowd try to be more funny than a comedian, that's somebody deriding someone. You understand? Now, why would they deride Christ and he out there teaching the truth? Why would they deride him and he breaking down the wisdom and explaining the kingdom to people and trying to get brothers and sisters to repent? Why would they do that? Because they were covetous. They hated that he had the attention. They hated that he had the spotlight. Hated that he had that wisdom and he could break these scriptures down and answer these questions that they were unable to answer. And so because they were covetous, they mocked him. They derided him. Everybody understands? Now let's read verse 15.
Luke chapter 16, verse 15. And he said unto them, ye are they which justify yourselves before men.
Christ said, you niggas justify yourselves before men. What does that mean? You niggas will say anything to be accepted. You niggas will say anything to have the white man think you a good nigga. You niggas will say anything to be accepted and to be looked at as a good old boy. They tried to deride Christ. Christ checked them. Said, you are the niggas that justify yourselves before men. A man that teaches the truth does not care about what anybody thinks about that truth. A man that teaches what is right does not give a damn what the people who want to do wrong think about him. That was Christ. That's us today. But the niggas that want to check, the niggas that want to be loved, the niggas that want to be famous, oh, they want to be highly esteemed among men. They want to be accepted. So they're going to not say the thing that's going to get them ostracized. They're going to not say the thing that's going to block them from certain opportunities and certain endorsements. They're going to not say the thing that would stop them from being invited to red carpet events and be hailed as this cat or that cat, which is why men with integrity and honor, the men that commanded General Yohana raises in the ISUPK are such a threat to this society. You understand? I'm a 500 said they hated he was a black man with knowledge. Well, listen, I'm a one. They were black men too. The niggas coming against Christ, they were black too. So it's not that they hated he was a black man. They hated he was a nigga. They hated he was from the ghetto. They hated he didn't put on the gay Roman clothing. They hated he didn't speak soft and sweet the way the Romans liked for niggas to speak. And they hated that this nigga was a nigga, but the people still followed him. People still listened to him. That's why they were covetous. Let's keep reading as Christ cuts at the heart of what's really wrong with these niggas. He says, you are they which justify yourselves before men. Read on.
But God knoweth your hearts.
But the Most High knows your heart. That's a cut out. You might be accepted by the people. You might be loved by the white man. But God knows your heart. Keep reading.
For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God.
For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God. What does that mean? That which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God. What does that mean about Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois? They're despised by God. Huh? What does that mean about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? They're despised by God. Huh? What does that mean about Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson? Despised by God. Now, I'm speaking about black leaders. Why? Because that's who Christ was talking to. You understand? What does God think about Puff Daddy and R. Kelly? Abomination before God. What does he think about? Give me a black celebrity does not have any scandal or any whispers on their name. 50 Cent and, Little Bow Wow. They are abomination before God. Now, take that and open it past black men. Now look at the white man. Now look at your oppressor. Who's highly esteemed among white people? Think of the white people in history that we have been told were great and amazing and did wonderful things. Give me 5 names of white people that you taught about in school that you have to know who these people are. Just going back to grade school. Give me 5 white names that you just have to know if you ever went to school in America. And matter of fact, give me the 5 most famous white people throughout all history. And you know they famous throughout history because you was taught about them in school. Come on with it.
Like I said, when it first come to my mind, going back there for George Washington.
George Washington, right? Absolutely famous, amazing. He was the forefather of America, first president, fought in the wars, the Revolutionary Wars against the British, crossed the Delaware in the freezing ice, snow. The Delaware River, if you don't know, is a giant-ass river up there by Philadelphia. And I tell you, the Delaware River is big. The Delaware River is big. I remember I used to stand over there. I lived in the northeast of Philadelphia across from Jersey. And I remember you could go to a park that's on the river and see across to Jersey. And it's like, that's a big ass river. Well, George Washington famously crossed the Delaware River in the middle of the winter to go fight against the British. George Washington was famous for having wooden teeth, right? Don't you know the teeth that was in George Washington's mouth were niggas' teeth? Slaves that he had, whose teeth he took and put in his fucking mouth because his teeth was rotten. Because this was a devil who did not brush his teeth and take care of his mouth. So he took nigger teeth, put them in his mouth so he could chomp his food and eat. George Washington, highly esteemed among men, abomination before God. That's one white man. Give me some more. I'll get a second one. Alexander the Great. Everybody learns about Alexander the Great. He helped the Greeks conquer the known world at the time, had the biggest army and the biggest military at the time. Alexander the Great is the beginning of white people's rulership on the earth. He was the first he's the first Caucasian, meaning the first cave dweller, troglodyte, first man whose family came out of the caves that rose to military power and expanded an empire. Alexander the Great's father is Philip of Macedonia. Philip of Macedonia was a king who rose to power in Macedonia, which is in Greece. But Macedonia is a very mountainous region in Greece. It's where there's a lot of caves and the people live up in the hills and the mountains. Philip the Macedonian came out of those caves in Macedonia and they conquered all of Greece. United all the Grecians together. His son Alexander took that Grecian empire, that Grecian united force, and they spread like wildfire and conquered the known world. Alexander the Great is a famously horrible, amazing sexual deviant. Alexander the Great had sex with men, had sex with women, had sex with animals, and he was amazing. Let the history tell it. Men and women all said Alexander the Great was had amazing sexual prowess. Which, okay, I just need you to think for a second. Don't think too hard. But how could a man be amazing at sex to both men and women? And then how much sex is he having with men and women to be famous for? Alexander the Great. Go, there's a movie called Alexander. Go watch Alexander the Great. Go watch the movie Alexander. It'll give you a little bit of insight into Alexander the Great. And he was he was a woman to men and a man to women. And he had sex with them at the same time. Logistically, I don't even know how that works. But he was famous for how good everybody said he was in bed. Mainly men, because I don't know any writings from women that survived from that time. Which means what? If Alexander the Great was famous and written about in history for how good he had sex, and it was men that was doing the writing, what does that tell you about Alexander the Great? He was a famous ankle grabber. Would do tricks, flip upside down, spin around. 10 men in a room, Alexander taking them all down. And they all, after it's done, saying, bro, that's amazing what that cat just did in there. It's gross. Alexander the Great, highly esteemed among men, abomination in the sight of God. Give me some more white people. We got George Washington, Alexander the Great. I want the 5 most famous white people that ever lived. Somebody in the chat, give me an answer. Somebody online, list some famous white people. throughout history. The point I'm making is all of them are going to be highly esteemed among men and abomination before God. I'll give you another one. Bill Gates. Bill Gates is super famous. Bill Gates made the Microsoft computer chips and the internet, helped pioneer the internet, making it a great thing. Well, guess what? The Epstein files have revealed that Bill Gates is a nasty, disgusting, buyer of prostitutes. Here's the thing that's wild about these white men in these Epstein files. All these cats contracting these diseases, nobody believed in condoms, huh? You Bill Gates, you billionaire Bill Gates, and you run foundations all over the planet. You having sex with a $2 whore from Jeffrey Epstein. You don't put a condom on, my nigga? You don't strap up with the Epstein prostitute? Jeffrey Epstein, hey, that's another one. This is number 4. Jeffrey Epstein, famous devil. Oh, he had money, billions of dollars, and famous for this banking thing and that banking thing. Loved to have sex with children. Highly esteemed among men, abomination in the sight of God. Everybody understand? Jeffrey Epstein had a disease that comes from eating human flesh. There's a disease that's listed there. Yeah. There's pictures in the files of Jeffrey Epstein going to a doctor, and Jeffrey Epstein's face has blisters all over. There's blisters and sores all over his face, and he got blisters in his mouth. And they went to the doctor and tried to find out, well, how did he contract this disease? And the disease is a cannibal disease. It's a disease that comes from eating human flesh. And Epstein had it. Epstein had a disease that comes from eating human beings. Bear with me. I'm going to try to find the video that I found. Okay, hold on. Epstein, did Jeffrey really eat babies? Fact checkers on. Okay, hold on. Let's see something. This is from One Indian News. I don't know. Okay, hold on. Let's look at this. This is from the Epstein files, been released, and his claims of cannibalism. You understand? Which is the eating of human people. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, well known, well respected, loved, and highly regarded, was a baby eater. Let's see this right here. Now I'm playing the video. It says federal sex trafficking in states with lower ages of consent. It says, what were you asking on the phone? Or it says, let's also look at sex tourism laws, going someplace with specific intent of having underage sex. He sent this to Mitch Weber at law.harvard.edu. It says, what were you asking on the phone? I see what you were asking now. The question is, what would happen if one were to transport a minor for sex or transport oneself with the intent to have sex with a minor into a state in which the age of consent is below 18, assuming the minor is above the age of consent in the given state? It says, the answer is there is no violation of law. That's what I just read what was on the screen. Now I'm gonna play the video, right? It says Epstein files unleash horrifying claims of cannibalism and ritualistic sacrifice. I'm gonna read what's on the screen. It says, under the new bill, commercial production is limited to 1,000 plants per license. The government of the 6 could benefit by having a professional operator building. Okay, hold up. Stems. No, okay, that's not enough. Let me keep reading. Let it keep playing. The shocking FBI records describe dismembered babies and elites eating human feces. Leaked messages about babies and cream cheese expose dark ritual theories. I'm reading what's on the screen. This is a message from Jeffrey Epstein, 7/16/2009. The subject is cream cheese baby. It says there are millions of babies, very little good vegetable cream cheese. Somebody responded, laughing out, I don't know if cream cheese and baby are on the same level. It's okay. There is still enough time today. I am trying to schedule priming for 5:30. Fuel explosion 9:45 will bring a new engine startup video. Horrible. Showing other stuff on the screen. Trump ordered DOJ to release 3 million Epstein files, sparking viral cannibalism and ritual claims. I think it's going to keep showing the same thing. That's, again, Jeffrey Epstein, super famous, highly esteemed among men, abomination in the sight of God. Everybody understands. These things that Christ said 2,000 years ago are still prevalent and being recognized in the earth today. You understand? Let me see something. See if I can. I'm gonna look on one more thing on this internet right quick, y'all. Hold on. Jeffrey Epstein, cannibal disease. Okay, hold on. Images. Hold on. Epstein. Bear with me. Hold on. I can't find it out there. I had to find another time. But there was a video. There's a damn picture of him in the doctor's office, and he got his face is all red and swollen. He opened his mouth, and there's sores all in his mouth. And then they gave a breakdown that there's a disease that people get from eating human flesh. When you eat human flesh, there's an enzyme in the body that attacks it, and it's like a nervous system response. Could cause hives and swelling and shit. And they said that this is the disease that Jeffrey Epstein had. You understand? But these devils, highly esteemed among men, they are abomination in the sight of God. Everybody understands? So what does that mean for us? What does that mean if ever? But let's keep reading. Salaki, let's go ahead and keep reading in Luke chapter 14. Now we're in verse 16.
Come. Luke chapter 16, verse 16. The law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of God is preached, and every man presseth into it.
What does this mean? Why is Christ saying this? The law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of God is preached, and every man presseth into it. What does Christ mean? The law and the prophets were until John. What was going on until John came? A call, you got it.
Like, sir, only thing I can think, until John came, it was the old, they had the old, well, they still had the Old Testament. So,
what did the Old Testament teach? What was the message of the Old Testament? Think about 2,000 years ago, right? John the Baptist was just on the earth preaching what? Repentance.
Come.
Wash yourself, get clean. The kingdom of heaven is there's one coming whose shoes I'm not worthy to latch. What was John telling everybody? What was the news that John was delivering to everybody?
He was preaching the coming of Christ.
You're right. What was the coming of Christ symbolized to the Old Testament?
He will be the new, sacrificial lamb now. So no more, having to sacrifice.
No, that's not what the Old Testament says about the coming of Christ. What was the name they had for Christ in the Old Testament? All the prophets in the law spoke of who coming. They didn't say Christ was coming. They
Messiah.
The Messiah. What is the Messiah? Who is the Messiah?
Savior. Son of God.
No. Let's stay with Savior.
Okay.
Savior of what?
Sin.
What does that mean? If a man's the Savior, if he saves us, if the Messiah is coming to save us from sin, what is the Messiah coming to do? What was everybody in the Old Testament? All the prophets, Moses, what was everybody waiting for? What was everybody waiting to see?
Bring the end.
The end of what?
the end of oppression and being under these other different nations, things of that nature.
Yes, the end of the Messiah was supposed to come and bring the end of our suffering, the end of oppression, the end of being ruled over by these other nations, the end of us dying under sin, right? If all of that goes away, if oppression ends, if we're not being ruled over anymore, if we're not dying under sin anymore, what does that mean? What is the condition that we're in on the earth?
Kingdom.
We in the kingdom. Say that. You understand? The Old Testament and all the prophets and the law and John spoke of the Messiah, spoke of the kingdom coming. Christ is saying, before, from the prophets until John, let's like read one more. The law and the prophets were until John, meaning the law and the prophets were until John, meaning the speaking of the Messiah coming was until John. Read on.
Since that time, the kingdom of God is preached.
What changed? What changed from the law and the prophets until John? So John and the prophets spoke of the Messiah's coming. Christ said that stopped with John. So now what is the message?
Kingdom is here.
That's it.
That's
it. The Messiah is here. Christ is saying right in this moment, now the kingdom of heaven is preached. The Messiah is here, which I've been waiting. Now imagine these men he's speaking to. Remember, they're covetous. They derided him. They mad at this nigga. They hating on this nigga. Christ just told them, I'm the Messiah, nigga. The law and the prophets were until John. Now the kingdom of heaven is preached, and everybody presses to get into it. Don't you niggas see I'm the Messiah, and everybody is pressing to follow me? You niggas' time is over. You niggas' rulership is over. You niggas who highly esteemed among men, it's just dead now. This is what Christ is saying. See, Christ's words hit different when you understand context. Christ's words hit different when you know who the audience is and why he's saying what he's saying. The white man wants you to believe that Christ was some loving, everybody come together. They want you to read these words and say, and that they want you to believe Christ is saying, the law and the prophets were until John. Now the kingdom of heaven is preached to everybody, and everybody wants to be in the kingdom. That is not the context of what we're reading here. That is not the way these words are being spoken. These words are being spoken with love and care. These words are being spoken to check faggot niggas who are mad that he's teaching the truth and people are loving it. He's checking the famous rich niggas who mad that the spotlight ain't on them. He's checking all the think they know everything politicians and religious niggas that are mad that he's answering all the questions that they don't fucking understand. Excuse my language. And after teaching about the kingdom of heaven, they mocked him and laughed at him. Man, who the fuck is this nigga? Why y'all listen to this nigga? He ain't nobody. Who the fuck is this cat that we supposed to listen to him? Christ heard that and said, surely you are the niggas that justify yourselves before man, but God knows your hearts. That which is highly esteemed among men is abomination before God. Meaning what? All you faggot niggas out there that's mad that the spotlight is on me, all you niggas mad that these people are following me, you niggas, y'all say what the white man wants you to say. Y'all say what to get you loved by the white man, but God know your heart, and you niggas are despicable. That which is highly esteemed among men is abomination before God. All you niggas that's accepted by the white man, you abomination before God. Come on with it.
It's a heavy, piece you bringing out because it's reminding me of, a situation, back home, right? So we got this, this good ex-drug dealer. Guy named, I ain't gonna say the brother name, but, this brother was an ex-drug dealer in the game. Trying to, I guess, change his life, whatever, right? And he may have, but he's under the guise more or less of Christianity, shall I say. Right? And people still following him because they know who he used to be. Right? And he done found a way to get back by the city. So the city supplying them, they call community first. They wear these blue vests and a lot of dudes, but a lot of the guys that send it out the hood, they still selling drugs or whatever. But they wearing these vests, and the people ain't really, and he advocating that the murder rate done went down in the city, and things of that nature. So it just reminded me of that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, like you said, but it's an abomination, to the I was kind of looking at it at,
these cats, like you said, this cat, ex-drug dealer, he known for that. But now he done changed that. This is what happened. Drug dealing was no longer profitable. He might have went to jail, might have called a case, and he said, you know what, I can't do the drugs no more. But you know what, I'm gonna be a good guy now. I'm gonna change my tone, and I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna support the government, the city, this and that. And they said, yeah, you come out with this good message, we'll support you. We'll give you money, we'll give you influence. You can get some of those guys out of the hood. And what he did is took that back into that resources, and now he's funding the drugs. He's supplying niggas who's still in the streets. But he got a good message, though, and he speak well, and now he dresses little suits, and he got a following. Guess what will happen if somebody comes and teaches the truth in that city? Somebody comes and tells them people the white man is the devil, and this city government never going to help you, and you shouldn't be worried about what the city government is doing. You should turn and give your life to the Most High. That nigga, because he's being paid and backed by the city, he going to come out against you. He going to say, man, these niggas, that the Bible don't say that. That ain't what God said. God's message is love. And you going to have the same response that Christ had. And understand this. People in that position that have sold out and that are saying whatever the white man wants and doing whatever is presentable to be accepted by the white man, the worst thing that can happen for that person is for someone real to come along. Someone who's real, who teaches the truth, who ain't buck dancing, who ain't shucking and jiving, who ain't talking like this and using big words to make white people feel accepted. The worst thing for a nigga that's sold out is to be face to face with a real nigga that refuses to sell out. And he can't just sit there and be a sellout. He's got to try to argue with you. He got to try to draw attention away from you. He's got to try to deride you. It's a spiritual thing. These men in Christ's presence could not shut the fuck up and listen. Excuse my language. They couldn't just shut up and watch. They couldn't shut up and learn. In their spirit, they had to rebel. They had to fight back. They had to deride him. Try to convince the people, man, this nigga ain't nobody. Why y'all listening to him? Because that's the only way they get attention. There's some people that only get shine because they block others. They only get attention because they steal it from someone more deserving. Remember I said there's two types of people in this world. There's somebody who can acknowledge, damn, that brother got a gift. That brother knows more. That brother's better. He should be in the spotlight. Then there's somebody that says, man, who the fuck is this nigga? Why he get to shine? Why they following him and listening to him? What make him think he know everything? Maybe because the nigga know everything. Now, all of us have to make sure that we can check our spirit to recognize, what nigga am I? Am I the nigga that can acknowledge that brother's better than me? Or am I the nigga that's wondering why he get to shine? I'm telling you, in the ISUPK, Commander General Yohana has made all of us to be men who respect men who are better than us, who acknowledge men who are better than us. And guess what? There's room for all of us to shine in what we are meant to shine in. So there's no need to be mad or hating another brother for what he's shining in. You understand what I'm saying? Come on with it.
So now, right, we got that same situation.
So
you got another brother. Now he's stepping up, but he used to be somewhat like this brother.
Mm-hmm.
He might not have been as big as his brother, but he was, nigga was all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now he's stepping out, like Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And you got, Christ and his followers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got,
this brother and this back by the city.
So there, what's the whole what we got here? What's the picture?
What you got? The picture you got to see is, well, okay. If the second brother, if he ain't in the truth, then he could be supported by the white man. That could be why he's stepping out the way he do. You understand what I'm saying? It looked like, oh, he more righteous, he more solid. But if the Lord ain't, and the Lord could be with neither one of them, which means they will both fail. Or the Lord could be with one of them and they got to battle it out. They both got to go out in that street and teach, and they both got to help in the community, and they both got to run their program to try to make the place better. And we'll see who wins, who makes the place better, who has more success, who changes the community. Now, if they're both supported by the white man, guess what? Nothing will change. They'll make some money. They'll be known, but nothing will change. But if the Lord is with one of them, they'll win. So that same scenario you just gave to me, that's applied to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Two men came out with a message. People supported them, followed them. Both of them got famous, had following. What changed after everybody who followed them men? Not a fucking thing. Excuse my language. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X did not benefit the black community at all. All they did was divide us, and the white man benefited. Let's go back to the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington both spoke well. Both did speeches and wrote and had an idea and a plan for black people. A lot of black people followed both of them niggas. Did it benefit us at all? Did it help us? No. It helped white people, though, kept us divided. It's the same thing over and over again, and it's the same thing on smaller levels. You understand? Well, guess what? Christ is the ISUPK is following in the footsteps of Christ today. And the Pharisees and Sadducees is the Christian church, the Muslim mosque. It's the famous niggas, the politicians. You want to know, the ISUPK does not have one political endorsement from any black politician in America. The ISUPK does not have one religious endorsement from any famous person on the planet. We are not highly esteemed among men. We are an abomination to men. But we got the spirit of Christ. You understand? And guess what? The law and the prophets were until John. Now is the kingdom of heaven preached. What are we preaching in the ISUPK? Are we saying that, the message in the ISUPK is you have to change now in order to be fit for the kingdom of heaven? We're not preaching you got to wait for the kingdom to come, or the kingdom coming, the kingdom on the way. We're preaching you got to live in the kingdom now, huh? You got to change your life now. You got to fight to become who the Lord called you to be now, because when Christ returns, it's too late. The church is still teaching black people to wait on Jesus, that God is coming. They're still teaching what the law and the prophets taught. We are teaching the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Don't you know the white man's empire is falling? Why? Because we finna rule. We can't rule unless we fit to rule. So what we got to do? We got to get it together now. We got to be fit to rule now. And you know who hates that? Somebody who thinks that they're going to get elected in the next, they're going to get support for the next election. They don't want to hear that a new kingdom is coming. They don't want to hear America is being destroyed, because their money depends on the next election. Their message depends on vote for me in November. So from now till November, no politician, black politician, is going to say anything about America being destroyed. They're going to say America's going to last forever, but we have to vote to decide what the next phase is going to be. We got to vote to get Donald Trump out of office. For fucking what? Excuse my language. America is showing you that it's nature now. If you ain't woke up in 2026 to the reality that the white man is the devil and that America is the land of our captivity and the sinful kingdom that the Amos speaks about, that God is going to destroy off the face of the earth, you'll never see it. You'll never understand it. We speaking like that, any nigga that wants to get elected in November hates what we saying. Any nigga that wants to get elected come November cannot stand with us, because our message is not one of November things are going to change. Our message is one of this place is damned to hell already. Now is you should be doing what needs to be done to survive in the next kingdom, to rule in the next kingdom. Everybody understands. But this word that Christ is speaking in Luke, the 16th chapter, This is not Christ speaking nice, loving words. This is not Christ saying, oh man, this is not Christ condemning one group of people and uplifting another. This is Christ checking some hating ass niggas that's mad that the people are beginning to follow him. And Christ is checking them because their spirit is, this nigga's finna rob us of our glory. This nigga finna get all the attention, so we're gonna have none. This nigga gonna have everybody following him and they won't follow us. These men should have had the spirit that we have in ISUPK, recognizing a man better than you and being honored to be in his presence to learn from him while he gets all the shine and all the glory. Instead, they were hating on Christ. They wanted to shine in the glory that Christ had. They did not want to acknowledge that Christ was better than them. And it is the reason why they got destroyed. You understand? Again, let's read it from the top. Let's read Luke chapter 16. Let's start at verse 14 one more time and read on down.
The book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 14. And the Pharisees also, who were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him. Verse 15. And he said unto them, Ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but God know of your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God. Verse 16. The law and the prophets were until John. Since that time the kingdom of God is preached, and every man presseth into it.
Read verse 17.
Verse 17. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail.
You understand? Christ said, man, everybody's pressing into the kingdom. Everybody is riding this wave that the kingdom is at hand. You understand? And he was letting them know, y'all time is up. Y'all time to shine. Y'all time to distract the people. Y'all time to divide us. It's over. And that's the message of the ISUPK today. All of these things taking place in the earth, all of these the reveals that God is having to be done in public for you to see that all of your leaders and all of your celebrities and all the people that you've ever looked up to are an abomination before God because their morals are low, because they have no integrity, because they do the nastiest, grimiest, most unbelievably disgusting things. You should never follow them. And as brothers and sisters acknowledge that these people are evil and this whole structure, this whole celebrity construct is full of evil, wicked, deviant men, we need to look elsewhere for leaders. We need to look elsewhere for someone to follow. Maybe you'll be able to hear the men of the Lord. It's by now, with everything being revealed, you should know anybody that's a famous rapper or singer, they had to sacrifice their morals. Anybody who's a famous preacher, pastor, they had to sacrifice their integrity to be joined among these white people. Anybody that's a top tier politician that, leading in elections and getting voted to positions within the government, it's only because white people trust them. And why would white people trust them? Because they're highly esteemed among men. If someone in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community is highly esteemed among white people, then you have to know it's because they are an abomination before God. Now is the time the Most High is bringing the men who are not highly esteemed among men before the earth. You understand? You look on the internet, you look at Captain Tazaryak and all of the lectures and debates he's doing, and I want to apologize to Captain Tazaryak. I told Captain Tazaryak about a month ago, he did a debate with some devil, Sam Shimon, and I told Cap, I called him and asked him, could I do a breakdown of his debate? And Cap said, yeah, I do the breakdown because I see that every time Cap debate these Christians, the Christians put out about 5 tapes trying to say Cap was wrong, but nobody puts out a tape supporting Cap. I told Cap, I'm going to do a breakdown. I looked up, 2-3 days passed by, Cap had 3 more battles he put out. I'm like, God damn, how can I keep up? I thought I was going to do the Sam Shimon breakdown. It's 5 other breakdowns to do. So Salaki the Captain's like, well, I know he looking at me like, that nigga Sock be on some bullshit. He called me, said he's going to do a breakdown, didn't do it. Salakia, sir, you're working way harder than I am. I wasn't able to get the tape in time, but I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do it. But that though, Captain Tazaryak is esteemed amongst the righteous men in here, but he's hated by their world. You go look at them videos Captain Tazaryak put out. Look at the comments. They hate this nigga because Captain Tazaryak, he look like a nigga, talk like a nigga. He clown you in your face like a nigga, but the words that he's speaking are the righteous words of salvation. It's the righteous truth of the Most High that's going to deliver God's chosen people back to the Father. But the world looks at those words and they're like the men in Luke the 16th chapter. They're covetous, and they'll deride him. They'll deride us for the things that we say. They'll say that we don't know what we're talking about. They'll say we don't know the Bible. They'll say we're not using exegesis or eisegesis to break down the scriptures when really they're just mad about the truth. And we have got to become men who are comfortable knowing that people are going to hate what we got to say. They're not going to support us. You're not going to look on a debate with us and somebody in the world and see that everybody loves us and everybody wants us to win. They're going to fight against the truth and fight against us. Why? They fought against Christ. Huh? Everybody understands. So that's it. I didn't have more on the breakdown. I wanted to just go into that and show you that when Christ came out and spoke against the men who were highly esteemed, he was speaking against those that hated the idea that a nigga from Nazareth could come and get the shine and captivate the people and gain a following like Christ gained. And they really were mad because they sold out so that they could get that spotlight. They tucked tail and supported the Romans and spoke the words the white man wanted to hear because they thought that that was going to gain them wealth and fame and honor. And then Christ came along, a nigga that did not care about any of that, teaching the truth, and he got all the fame and the honor that they wanted. And because they were covetous of what Christ had, they hated him, spoke bad about him, tried to talk down on him. Christ stood with the Lord. Well, we in this time, we're going to follow after Christ's example, and we're going to have to be hated. We're going to have to know when someone is covetous and wants to deride us, and we're going to stand with Christ and speak the words he spoke. With that, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2026, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our place is in this earth. And with that being said, you brothers and sisters got family, loved ones, people you care about in Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, get them in contact with the ISUPK. With that one, say the water again to Officer Carson Park coming down, man, and holding in the class with me.